Hey guys, Anthony here from Signal by Sony, a show about everything Sony makes, from gear to games to movies to music. And if you've been keeping up with camcorder news, you've probably heard about Sony's NEX VG10, the world's first consumer HD camcorder with interchangeable lenses. Well, we decided to put it to the test and in the hands of a pro filmmaker, Ryan Connolly. Ryan's the host of Film Riot, a weekly web series that teaches all kinds of filmmaking tips and tricks, and he's about to shoot a short film for his show on the VG10. Let's see what he does and get his impressions of the camera.
And rolling.
So Ryan, what lens are we using right now?
We're currently shooting on the 24 through 70 Zeiss, which is a huge plus because Zeiss glass is amazing. But it's also a zoom lens, and since we're kind of shooting fast right now, I can usually, punch in and out of different focal lengths and, make this go a lot quicker since we don't have a lot of time to shoot today. And action. Color response is good. This seems to be not too oversaturated, not too undersaturated, so there's a lot to work with and pull from, especially in the skin tones. Like, it's really hard to pull skin tones out when color correcting and when you try to differentiate it from the background. Whereas this, I really like how it captures the skin tones, which it makes for a much easier color correction.
What are we working with now?
This is the 85mm Zeiss, which bottoms out at a 1.4. We're doing a shot where you reminisce about an old love, and to pull as much comedy out of that as possible, I want to really crush the depth of field to make it really, really dramatic. So this 85mm is going to give that for us because it has that long focal length and it has that lower iris setting, so I can really capitalize on the shallow depth of field. Traditionally with regular video cameras, you have a really small sensor, which is why you have that super long depth of field, everything in focus, which is that typical home video look that everybody's trying to get away from.
So Ryan, you've been using the VG10 for a little while now. What have been some of your favorite things about the camera?
Well, I've been using DSLRs primarily lately, so just coming back to some of the typical things of a camcorder that I've missed so much, didn't realize how much I missed, like just having a handle on the top, being able to hold it like a proper camcorder, having audio inside the camcorder, things like that.
Talking about the audio, explain for people who aren't familiar what some of the difficulties are in DSLR audio as opposed to what you're doing with the VG10.
Right. Well, when they made the DSLRs with video, they weren't really having the filmmaker or the videographer really in mind. It seemed almost as just another tacked-on feature that ended up looking really pretty. So the audio is really garbage. It's really not good at all. You need to be able to monitor levels. You need to be able to mix if need be. And if you're on a really important project, that just doesn't fly. The gain control on this camera is extremely impressive. One of the best I've used, I'd say. In the sketch, we went from talking low to screaming, and it never peaked. It's just controlling it perfectly. So I'm not even having to worry about mixing it myself. It's doing it perfectly.
What else in the VG10 really helped us out?
Obviously, we wanted to get like a really good look, a good film look. So that giant sensor size in a camcorder like this, being the first, was a huge plus.
So you do a lot of effects heavy work, obviously. How does the VG10 help out with that?
When it comes to cameras like this, they're really interchangeable when it comes to effects, but the one thing that we were doing today was green screening, and depending on your camera, it can make green screening a little bit difficult depending on how it deals with color. Okay. But from what I've seen in camera so far, it looks like it's going to key beautifully. It's really pulling the greens out. Its big downside is that it doesn't do 24p, but you can always convert that later in post, so it's not really that much of a hurdle.
So as a filmmaker, what would you say the best situations for the VG10 would be?
I think there's a lot of situations that the VG10 would be good in. Off the top of my head, one of the best would probably be like the documentary type shooting, that run and gun type documentary. I mean, it's a small camera that can be just shoved in a backpack and go. It's a really resilient camera. It doesn't feel like flimsy. And pretty much anything. There's not many things I wouldn't use it for.
So those were Ryan's impressions of the VG10. If you want to see the entire episode of Film Riot, you can watch it right on our site at sony.com/signal. For now, this is Anthony for Sony.